Okay, right now we are going to go through this question. That means you need to pay attention. Of course, this is a past paper, but we need to learn and see how we can compute these results. Right now, they're telling us below are sample names of employees in a company that deals in sale of products. Each employee is paid a basic salary based on the number of units of products sold per month. Each unit is sold for 4,500 shillings. Of course, we have the employee names, we have monthly sales that are given to us, but unlikely we haven't been given basic salary. We just simply have an empty column with us. That means we are going to compute and find out how we can actually get the basic salary. Of course, we have some important information below this table. We have transport allowance for all employees is 3/4 of basic salary. Then lunch allowance, a half of transport plus a quarter of basic salary. Then we have NSSF, which is 5% of gross salary, and then we have payee for employees as follows. Of course, we have a simple table, and then we shall have to create the payee column as well. But before doing that, we need to calculate or find the basic salary. Now that means we need to create, at this stage you need to know how to create a folder plus a file. That means in the previous folder that we created earlier on, we shall use the same folder, but of course we shall create a different file within that folder. So we go to we are within this folder. So I'll right click, go to new, select Microsoft Excel worksheet. We have a new file. Let's see whether in the question they are telling us they require us to rename this file anywhere in the question. Okay, maybe they are just telling us Excel sheet and name it payroll final. This is the sheet. So for the file name, you may leave it as it is, but for revision purposes, maybe for people to understand this concept, we are going to rename the file before opening it. Let's call it payroll system. Open that file. When you're done with opening that file, we have an empty spreadsheet, so we shall have to type this information. They're telling us enter the table in Excel sheet 1. Okay, now we have to do that. Let me scroll up. I want to just copy and paste this entire table because I have it in a soft copy. For you may go ahead and type. I'll copy that, then I'll drag this there. Okay, so that means let me try to remove these borders for now. Of course we need them, but now we have our table with us. So now we need to compute basic salary. If you go back to the question, they're telling us sorry, each employee is paid a basic salary based on the number of units of products sold per month. Each unit is sold for 4,500 shillings. That means for us to get the basic salary, we need to say equals, then we click in this cell that has the monthly sales, then we shall press shift number 8, that is times, you click that star, you press shift, and then the star will appear, times 4,500 shillings. We press enter. Now note, we have got that 4,500 from the question. It is not simply guesswork. When you're done with that, get your arrow pointer, then you drag downwards. Make sure you have the same figures. If you have different figures, then you are lost. Rewind back the video and then you see the formula properly. Okay, this is the formula we are using, so automatically it will put the formula within other cells. So you're done with computing and finding basic salary. That means we have to compute the rest. Give your table an appropriate title and color it red. Okay, before even doing that, they're telling us enter the table. We are done with that. Sheet 1, name it payroll final. Okay, name it payroll final. But before even doing all of this, let us first compute. Okay, I think it will be better for us before we go through these questions down here. Let us first run up and we try to compute all of this. We need to have all this information with us. Okay, so they are telling us transport allowance. Okay, they're telling us it's for all employees it is 3/4 of basic salary. That means we need to create a new column that has transport allowance. So I'll say transport allowance, of course. I'll do the needful of copying and pasting. You'll have to type the full text. Just bear with me. Okay, so now I'll say equals, they've said it's 3/4, 3 slash, okay, 3/4 of basic salary times, the slash is on your keyboard, you'll see it next to the question mark. You just have to press shift and then, okay, it will appear. In fact, you don't need to press shift and then it will appear. Just click that and you'll see it. So times basic salary. You press enter, you have those figures. You drag down, make sure you have the same figures. If you have different figures, you're on the wrong path. So then they're telling us in the question, lunch allowance is a half of transport plus 1/4 of basic salary. Now since we are done with finding transport allowance, that means for lunch allowance we shall create a new column. You try to switch that a bit, then you say equals. Now before I proceed, some of you may have encountered this after computing. If you find you have this hash, don't get scared. Okay, don't get scared, don't cry. Just have to stretch this and then you'll have the figures. Okay, if you can't stretch that, you can try to double click, automatically it will what? Stretch. Okay, so lunch allowance, they've said it is a half of transport allowance. I'll say a half times, they've said transport allowance. Okay, you click in this cell that has transport allowance. Then they've said in the question plus, the plus sign, you'll see it next to the equal sign. You press shift, plus 1/4 of basic salary. So I'll say 1/4 of basic salary. You click in this cell that has basic salary and then you press enter. So expect it to have these figures. Now to avoid wasting time, sometimes you may drag this and then you go downwards, or double click on this simple dot that you are seeing here. Okay, to bring the same formula down there. So you're done with computing that. Then they're telling us NSSF is 5% of gross salary, but take note of this, we don't have gross salary in our table. That means we need to create the gross salary column. Now to compute for gross salary normally it is you add basic salary plus all allowances. Okay, for gross salary it is basic salary plus all allowances. That is the formula. So that means we can't calculate NSSF without having gross salary. So we shall say gross salary. Of course, I'll do the needful. You know what I usually do. To avoid wasting time, I'll just copy and paste this. I have it here with me. Oh, by the way, if you want to bold this, either you press Ctrl B on your keyboard, or you can simply just come to the font section, you click this, you will be able to bold that. So I'll say equals, then we shall say sum. Okay, Then you click in basic salary, then you drag on your right side. Of course, you'll have to close the brackets and then you press enter. That is what we have as our gross salary. Then you drag down the formula. Okay, that means you shall be able to compute or find NSSF. Remember, they're taxing you. You're working for an organization and they're trying to tax you. Okay, remember, we have forms of taxes in our country. We have NSSF, they are going to tax you. We have pay as you earn. The more you earn, the more they tax. Then we have value added tax as well. That means sometimes in the question we can say we can give you NSSF, find pay. Right now in this question they are telling us to find NSSF and also pay, but they are not telling us to find value added tax. Sometimes it can be something else that we can add in the question or not. So right now we shall create the NSSF column. Then we shall say equals, they're telling us in the question it is 5% of gross salary. So you'll say 5 shift percent times gross salary. So you click that, then you press enter. Okay, so when you press enter, sorry about that, so you drag down the formula. Then we have our basic salary, sorry, our NSSF. So now the most terrifying part is about to begin. We need to find pay, but don't get scared because we need to just see how to calculate this. The same pay for employees is as follows. Those who earn from the range of 0 to 130,000, they are zero taxed. Okay, those who earn from 130,000, let's say like 100 to 235,000, they are charged 10% of the chargeable income. What do they mean by chargeable income? This is the gross salary. Okay, this is the gross salary. When they say that exceeds 130,000, of course there we are going to subtract. Okay, we are going to subtract minus 130,000. Okay, that means the amount they are going to charge you, it is exceeding 130,000. So we shall say minus 130,000. So it's the same procedure. You will say those who earn 235,000, let's say 100 to 410,000, they will be charged a tax of 20% of the chargeable income. Once again, I've said, I repeat, this is the gross salary, chargeable income, that exceeds 235,000 plus 10,500. That means we shall say minus 235,000 plus 10,500. Then above 410,000, of course, that means you're earning more than 410,000. They will charge you a tax of 30% of your gross salary. That is the chargeable income that exceeds 410,000 plus 45,500 shillings. So we need to create the pay column. I'll say pay as you earn. So of course we need to create an if statement for it. Remember, I told you earlier on that we have the nested if statement, we have the simple if statement. For nested if, it is an if statement within another if statement. Okay, so now to calculate this, we are going to follow what we have in the table. We have to follow what we have in the table. So I'll say equals if, open brackets. If you want to avoid opening brackets, you may go back and then you double click on this. Then you click in this cell that has gross salary. Okay, then you say less than or equal to those who earn from the range of 0 to 130,000, they are zero taxed. Okay, so we shall say 130,000. Shall say comma, then shall go ahead and say 0. Okay, remember they are zero taxed. Any number that is multiplied by 0, it will remain as what? 0. So we shall say 0 times of the chargeable income. the chargeable income, it is the gross salary. Okay, so I'll click that. We are done with that. The first statement is done. That means we are done with interpreting the first part of this this question. So I'll say comma, then I'll go ahead and again I'll say if, open brackets, select again gross salary. If so and so earns an amount that is higher than 130,000, that person has to be what? Taxed. So I'll say less than or equal to. This time round we are interpreting this. Those that earn this amount, okay. So we shall say 235,000, comma. Previously we had said this was 0, okay. For this one we shall say 10% of the gross salary that exceeds 130,000. So I'll say 10% of the gross salary, okay, of, open brackets, of the gross salary, of the gross salary. Then I will say minus 130,000. Okay, minus 130,000. Of course, you'll have to close the brackets. Then put the comma. Then we shall say again if, open brackets, gross salary. Then we shall say minus, less than sign, equals. Now we are done with this part. So we are going to say minus, okay, less than or equal to 410,000. 410,000, comma. Then we shall say they are telling us 20% of the chargeable income, that is 20% of gross salary. So I'll say 20% of, open brackets, the gross salary, okay. Then we shall say minus 235,000, close brackets. Now they're telling us plus 10,500, so we shall say plus 10,500, okay, comma. Finally, they are telling us those that earn above 410,000, that is 30% of the chargeable what? Income, which is the gross salary that exceeds 410 plus 45,500. So I would say open brackets 30% times, you select the gross salary that exceeds 410,000, we shall say minus 410,000. Then we need to close these brackets, plus 45,500. Now when we are closing, remember I told you we need to know the opening brackets, the brackets that are still left open, okay. So I'll count. We have 1, 2, then 3, the rest are closed, so I'll say 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are 4. The 4 that weren't closed, there are 4. So I'll go ahead and press enter. Of course, we have an error, so there is something wrong. I think I forgot to do something. Try to close this bracket. Still an error somewhere. We need to rectify this very fast. Let me see, try to see where I went wrong. It's kind of hectic with the brackets, so it needs time to catch up with. Yeah, I think I forgot a bracket somewhere here. Close that. Let's press enter and we see. And here we are. Yeah, that is it. So I expect you to have this with you. Of course, you can pause the video, look at the formula, you see how we inserted in the brackets, and then when you press enter, we have our what? Pay. So you drag down the formula. Okay, then we need to proceed with the next question. Yeah, we are done with the calculating everything apart from, let's see what's down here. Enter the table in the Excel sheet 1. We are done with that, and name it payroll final. Now we need to rename the sheet. We need to rename the sheet. So that means you come down here, you can either double click, then you rename the sheet, or you can right click, then you click what? Rename. So the choice is yours, but I would likely prefer you just double click, then you call it payroll final. Payroll final. When you're done with that, you're done with renaming the what? The sheet. Sheet 1. Give your table an appropriate title and color it red. So we don't have a title. That means we need to insert in a new row. So you click in this cell that has number 1. Come with your arrow pointer. Click in this cell. When you click in it, then you right click. After right clicking, drag your arrow pointer down, click insert. It will create a new what? A new row. Let's call it like let's give it a name like payroll system. Let's just call it payroll system. Something just very simple. An appropriate title, and they want us to color it red. Okay, so to color it red, remember for all titles we need to place it somewhere in the center. Okay, when you try to zoom out, you can say when we leave it at this stage it won't look so nice. Okay, let me first color it red. You go to the font section to color it red, go to font color where you see the word font color. Okay, this is where you choose from the colors. You can see it's even changing colors. If you can see on the screen, I go to yellow, changes to yellow, green, blue. So I won't select red. Okay, select red is red, but we can't leave it like this. So you click in this cell, you drag up to the left side. Sometimes you can tell to merge and center. Though in the question they haven't asked us to merge and center. That means when if you leave it at this stage, it's fine. But to have a very good title, for it to look so nice in your work, it's very good when you click here in this cell, you drag up to where you have. Okay, maybe before I do that, we are still creating more columns. Let's leave it at this stage. Let's leave it at this stage. You already have the title with us, so this is fine because we are going to add more columns. They're telling us determine the net salary for employees. Now for net salary, we are supposed to subtract it with the tax deductions. If you are calculating net salary, that is gross salary minus the tax deductions. Okay, that means let's say this is the net pay, the net salary. For net salary, I will say equals gross. Click gross. Remember the deducting, and you are going to be left with how much you are left with on your what? Bank account. Gross minus, open brackets, then we shall say sum. Okay, I think to avoid opening brackets, let's just say minus sum, open brackets, then click NSSF, then with also what, pay. Why are we adding NSSF and pay? These are all tax deductions, and they have deducted from us our what, we have paid tax from our salary. That means that what we are left with, it is what we are actually going to remain with on our what, bank accounts. So that's why we are adding NSSF plus pay, but it's going to be minus gross salary. Okay, if we only had one single tax deduction, if we had only NSSF, that means we would just simply say gross salary minus NSSF. Okay, if we only had pay, we would simply just say gross salary minus pay. But since we have more than one tax deduction, we shall first have to add them, and then we use that and we subtract it with the gross salary. Hope I'm clear. So I'll close brackets, then I'll press enter. Okay, so this is our net salary. Okay, that means someone who has been earning like 1.6 will be left with 1.1. So I'm going to drag down the formula. Okay, so we have our net salary. We are done with calculating that. Then we need to go back to the question. Determine the total's average, highest and lowest basic salary. That means we shall go to the basic salary column. We need to calculate the totals. They're telling us totals, then lowest and also the highest. That means for totals we shall, there is also average. There is also average, so that means we also need to find the average as well. So now we shall say equals sum. Remember, we are finding totals. Sum. Okay, you open brackets, you click in this cell that has basic salary, you drag downwards. Okay, we have our formula there. Close brackets, press enter. We have now found the total. Okay, that's the formula. Then we need to find the lowest. Lowest, if you watch the previous video, you already know what to do. You say mean, then again you go to the basic salary column, you drag that downwards, and then you close brackets, you press enter. It is now the lowest salary. That it means this one earns 585,000. Okay, basic salary. That is the basic salary just alone. Highest, shall say max. Make sure you are having the same figures that I have, otherwise you will be on the wrong track. Max, that is the highest salary. I'll close brackets, press enter. That means this one who earns 4, okay, this amount, that is the highest. Then the average, of course, average shall say average. You can see we have it here. Click that, then we shall go back, you click in this cell, these cells, then you close brackets again, press enter. So we are done with finding the average, the highest, lowest, and the what, the totals. Of course, you will need to pause the video to get these formulae. Then we have format the figures to KES with no decimal places. This is the currency now. I think this is, it could be Kenya shillings, most likely. Sometimes we can tell to format the figures to UGX, but right now we have to format these into what, KES. So now you need to first highlight all your figures, the ones that normally have the amount of money. Highlight that. Highlight everything. I left out that last row. Then go to the home tab. We're already there. Go to the number section. We have font alignment number. Okay, then click this drop down. You can call it whatever you want. It looks like an arrow. Okay, click that. We are waiting for this simple pop-up. So what we have here with us, you look for currency. Now in the question they're telling us with no decimal places. Let's first work on that. make sure now by default we are having two decimal places, dot 00. So we shall say, we shall remove that. Okay, you can increase, you can remove. So we have removed that. Now for the symbol, you have to click here. They are telling us KES. Type the K, then scroll down. We have it here with us. Select it, then press OK. And press OK. By default, we are having it now within our table. Okay, so they're telling us for employees whose monthly sales are less than 200 should be rewarded by 10% of their net salary, and for those whose monthly sales are beyond or equal to 200 should be rewarded by 20% of their net salary. Now remember, we have looked at pay, and there I told you that that is the nested if statement that we have used. Okay, because we can't use the simple if statement to calculate pay. We have to use the nested if statement and then we calculate pay. Right now we are going to use the simple if statement to calculate this. Okay, now I'll create a new column. Okay, a new column. Let me just call it, let me give it a name. I'll just call it if statement, because it haven't specified for us that it should have a name. So I'll say if, open brackets, we go back to the question. They're telling us whose monthly sales, for employees whose monthly sales are less than 200 should be rewarded by 10% of their net salary. Okay, so monthly sales, that means we go back to monthly sales, click that, and then we go back. Okay, we are saying it here. Then we shall say less than, okay, less than 200. Okay, they're telling us less than 200, comma, should be rewarded 10% of their net salary. So we shall say 10% of their net salary. Of course we have it here with us. You click that, then we shall say comma, and for those whose monthly sales are beyond or equal to 200 should be rewarded by 20% of their net salary. So this one we shall just simply say 20% of their net salary. Then you close the brackets. That's the simple if statement that we are using. Press enter. Okay, and then we shall have this. Okay, so we are done with calculating that as well. Then they're telling us plot a graph of names against the net pay. Give it a title: employee statistics, y-axis, net pay. Okay, cut it and paste it in sheet 2 and rename it statistics. They're telling us plot a graph of names against the net pay. So we need to know what we are going to do. So remember in the previous video I showed you how to do that. Just come with your arrow pointer, names of employees, drag, press Ctrl on your keyboard. Make sure your fingertip is still on that Ctrl button such that you're able to highlight the net salary. You highlight that. Did I ask for net salary? Let's go back to the question. Yes, net pay. Then we need to insert the chart. Go to the chart section, go to the insert tab, then go to the chart section, click whatever this is, then select all charts. Now if you watch the previous video, you should go back to it, and then some of you have different you may be using Windows 8, and then you may struggle to look for where to place the axis, where to insert the axis, and also the title. By default, the one I'm using right now, for it will have a plus sign. So I'll select this one here, this graph. I have it here. Now for me, with ease, I have this plus sign. I'll just click that, and then you rename the axis. Those of you who are using Windows 8, maybe briefly I can just mention this. When you go to your chart, after selecting the chart, go to your area here where you have the ribbon. Look for what you see. You'll find a button that has the word layout. Click on it, then go to the section that has the axis. You'll find there the axis you go to that section. There you'll find chart titles, you'll find axis titles. You select those. If you relate to the previous video, you'll see what I'm trying to talk about. Okay, now I'm proceeding with this. Then plot a graph of names against the net pay. The title should be employee statistics. So I'm going to call this employee statistics. Employee statistics. Then for the axis, the x-axis, it should be employee name. Here we are. This is the x-axis, so you call it employee name. Then we have y-axis will be net pay. It will be net pay. Net pay. So when you're done with that, they're telling us to cut and paste it. Cut it and paste it in sheet 2 and rename it statistics. Right now we have sheet 1, so we need to create sheet 2. Okay, let's just assume this is our sheet 2 now. Okay, it is calling this sheet 1 because remember, when I renamed this to payroll final, it by default it made this now sheet 1. So we won't just rename this statistics, but before that, let's cut and paste this graph of hours. Cut, right click, cut, go to this part. Now remember, I told you that either you press Ctrl V and it will appear, or you may simply right click, then you press your chart. Okay, or you can press Ctrl V. Okay, when I press Ctrl V, the chart will still appear. So we have to rename this sheet. They're telling us we call it statistics. Statistics. So you're done with that as well. Then insert a header as salaries and footer as your full name. So we need to do that. But before you do this, let me first show you this number. I'll make this one the last one. Freeze your table headings. To freeze your table headings, let's go back here. Now what they mean by this, now since we are done with creating our table, for you people, if you don't know how to border, you need to put borders in your work. So maybe I'll do this. The table, you highlight that to create a border. Go to the font section, look for where you have borders. Click that drop down arrow, select all borders. When you're done with that, you find the borders will appear. Okay, then if you want to merge and center, because sometimes you shall tell to merge and center your title. So you click in this cell, you drag up to the left side, then you click merge and center. Go to the alignment section, click merge and center. You'll find it will be at the very center of this table. Now what were we going to do? We are going to freeze the table heading. Now this is our table heading payroll system. When I scroll down, it will disappear. We want to freeze it whereby when we scroll down, we still have our table heading here on the screen. Okay, that's what they want. Let me try to zoom this a bit. Okay, when I scroll down, you find it will disappear. When I go back, it appears. Now we want whereby when I scroll down, it will remain at the top. So what I'm going to do, let me zoom out. Okay, click in this cell that has the payroll system, the title. Go to view, get your arrow pointer, go to view, Then go to the window section, the window section. You will see we have freeze panels here. Click the drop down arrow. Then they're telling us freeze the top row. Okay, freeze the top row. When I click that, it has been activated. So when I scroll down, you can see now the heading is what? Consistent. Okay, when I scroll, you can see it's now moving with us. That is what we mean by freezing. Okay, you freeze your what? Title. Then I think I should save this. Then let's go back to this question. Insert a header as salaries and footer as your full name. Now the header, we shall have to go to view again, then go to page layout. Click page layout. Okay, they're telling us it's not compatible with what? Fine, it has worked. It has worked. No worries, it has worked. Then let me see. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Let me first try to unfreeze everything. Let me go back. Let me go back to normal. I'm going to try to unfreeze this because I think it has affected it. Top row. It has frozen it. So I need to unfreeze that. Unfreeze panels. Yeah. So let me first create the header and footer. Go to view, the header and footer. Go to view, select page layout. Okay, you click in this cell. They're telling us the header, it should be what? Salaries. So type here salaries. When you're done with typing salaries, go to your design tab. Are you seeing all of this? Go to the navigation area where you have navigation. Click go to footer. Okay, when you click that, we are going at the bottom. Then the footer, your full name. My full name is Sadat Bokoma. Okay, and we are done. When you're done with this, okay, we're done with everything. I suppose we have done everything. Okay, we're done with that. So remember, you'll have to be done with that. Okay, so I know I did not, when I scroll down, okay, we need to freeze the panels, but you can't freeze the panels when you have used the header and footer. It's very hard. That's why previously I had showed you how to freeze them. And then now if you are trying to cross this back to the normal page, of course everything is going to what? Go back to normal. So I think you have to go ahead and freeze the panel from here, and it's frozen. Someone goes back to the header, page layout, we are able to see the footer and the header. Okay, that's why I started off with freezing before. Okay, but it will have everything. Now by default you can even work like this. Okay, but if you want it to go back to normal, it will go back like that. For us, when we are going back and cross-checking, we shall go back and cross-check with this. Okay, so unfortunately when you freeze your panels, when you go to header and footer, you will be disappointed that it cannot be compatible with what? You freeze panels, so it will reject that what? So it will be affected. That means by the time you try to create a header and footer, it will automatically remove that what? Frozen panel. Okay, so that is it, and that is all.
Yeah, boy.